So I'm pretty sure majority of you watching this video already have heard about the Google Stadia. And just to debrief you guys, it's a Google gaming streaming service. That was a mouthful, but essentially it's a streaming service provided by Google, and it's going to be a paid subscription service for you to stream basically any game anywhere you want. So you can play it on your, crappy PC. You can play it on a high-end phone. You can play it on a high-end computer or desktop. It doesn't matter because Stadia's streaming service apparently is going to essentially give you the opportunity to play any game you want, no matter what your system requirements are. The only thing you really need is a certain gigabit connection, which we will be getting into. And on top of that, it's also got a couple of price tags on it that I think will ultimately be its downfall. So before we even jump into the video, guys, don't forget to drop a like. And if you're new to the channel, hit that sub button and that bell next to the subscribe button next to my name. So let's jump into it. So right off rip, Google actually tells you that there is a Google Stadia Founders Edition. This is going to come with the Google Chromecast Ultra as well as a Stadia controller. Now, according to Google, you should be able to play any game on Stadia, and you can play with an Xbox controller, a PS4 controller. As long as it's somewhat compatible with Google, you should be able to use basically any controller. So you don't really need the Stadia controller, but you 100% do need a Google Chromecast to actually stream any game you want. Now, how much does this Founders Edition cost? Well, it does cost $129, and compared to some of the other consoles that will exist in the coming future, that is a pretty appealing price tag, right? Like a quarter of the price of what apparently the PS4 is going to sell around, and even the new Xbox, it's maybe even cheaper than that. So with all of that, that's already pretty cheap to compare to the other consoles that we've had in the past. And on top of that, you can stream it basically anywhere. So a lot of people are talking about it. They think it's pretty appealing to them. But then we get into the murky waters, and I would even say dirty waters, that are basically the reason why this whole streaming platform is going to ultimately fail unless they make a couple of price adjustments. So what happens if you want to, actually play on Google Stadia? Well, you don't really need technically the Founders Edition. You can buy a Chromecast, I think, for a little bit cheaper, but essentially you do need that. So what happens after you get the Chromecast and after Stadia launches? Well, you do need a couple of things. First of all, you need an internet connection, and that internet connection must be 10 megabits per second for 720p. You need around 20 megabits per second for 1080p, and if you want 4K resolution, it's going to be 35 megabits per second. Now, I don't know where you guys technically live, but I will say this, to have even the 1080p to 4K range, that's pretty rare to come by for a lot of people that have internet service. You essentially have to have a lot of bandwidth in order to actually stream these titles and these games that will be available on Stadia. And not to mention, right, I mean, there's a whole nother thing behind Stadia. You still need to pay for internet, guys. Like, whether you're with Verizon or Comcast or another internet provider, you need to have internet service. So that's another bill on top of, everything else. If you already have an internet connection, then yeah, you're fine. But if you want to have, the 20 to 35 megabits per second, you're essentially going to need to pay a little bit extra in order to get that bandwidth, even if it is available in your, local area. So that's a whole nother obstacle that you need to overcome. But this is where things ultimately just, they just don't work out. So the Google Stadia is going to be at a price tag of about $10 a month as a streaming service. So on top of everything else, you get the Chromecast, you get this, you get the internet connection required in order to stream, 4K. You still have to pay $10 a month. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the Xbox One has been around, I think, for like 6 years now. So if you want to do some, I guess, simple math here, if we do 6 times 12, that's, I think, 72. Multiply that by $10 a month. You're going to be spending $720 just to exist in the generation of consoles for the coming year. Give or take, it could be a variable, but more than likely it's going to be 6 years plus for the next consoles to come out. So like the PS6 or like the Xbox 2. So for example, if you do get Stadia this year and the PS5 and the Xbox, let's just call it the Xbox 2 come out, you're going to essentially last like 6 years. But then again, guys, you still need to pay for the subscription service, and it's going to come out to over like $700, which is just so ludicrous and ridiculous. I'm better off buying a PlayStation 5. Like, that's literally how ridiculous this pricing system is. And it doesn't take that much to stream. I know it might take a little bit more resources and, research and development, but definitely I think Google can handle that budget. And so they're basically making you spend like over $700 for the generation to come, which is ridiculous in itself, not to mention the $100 price tag for the Founders Edition, actually $129. And then you have to, purchase extra internet connection if you have something under the bare minimum. So there's a lot of money coming involved. But honestly, the thing that really pushes it over the edge is the fact that you need to purchase the video games on Stadia. There's not, you can play, the new game that's out this month and you're going to be able to stream it for free. To my knowledge, you're going to have to spend, a full $60 to stream whatever game Google Stadia has available. So if you want to play Destiny 2, you're going to need to spend not only $10 a month, but also an additional $60 in order to play that game. If you want to play something else that's coming out, NBA 2K20, which has been known or at least advertised to have Google Stadia capabilities, then you're essentially going to need to pay $60 for that. And that doesn't even mention the microtransactions that are associated with all of these video games. So ultimately, Stadia alone, right? You're spending $700 in total, I guess, for the entire generation. You're going to be spending $129 for the Founders Edition. You're going to need to spend even more money for internet. And the end-all be-all is that you're going to need to spend money for actually streaming these video game titles. With all of that being said, I'm better off buying a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox 2, whatever they're going to call the next Xbox. But essentially, this is definitely not worth it. And I don't see a lot of people actually purchasing this service. I don't see it becoming a big thing, mainly because Sony is an established gaming service. Xbox, Microsoft is an established gaming service. Those are the two main powerhouses, I would call them flagships, for the console generations that we've had in the past, present, and assuming that Xbox is going to come out with a new one, it's going to be the future as well. And you're not going to need to spend money on a subscription service other than maybe Xbox Live or PlayStation 4 Live or whatever it's called, right? But overall, the main issue is that Stadia already is giving us a lot of price tags for their service every single month and then paying additional money on video games. It's ultimately not going to even out compared to buying a PlayStation 5, maybe paying like $60 a year, which actually comes out to $5 a month for a live service like, PlayStation Network or whatever it's called. And then, Xbox Live similarly with, another $60 for the whole year, $5 a month. That's what it's price tagged at now. It's just not going to pan out properly in order to have, I would say, the best gaming service. And not to mention, Google Stadia, we don't know about this platform. Like, we don't know if the, network and the servers are going to be able to withstand all of this 4K streaming, and not to mention being able to, input certain buttons. Like if you want to, do a dribble move in NBA 2K, if you want to catch a pass in Madden, there's a lot of incremental, I would even say microseconds involved with reaction time. Can the Stadia actually handle all of that in terms of the input and then the output that comes out with a streaming gaming service? I don't really think so. And I have my doubts. And I think a lot of other people do as well. I don't see this working. Like I said, the money is just overbearing compared to established gaming platforms that Microsoft and Sony have, and even Nintendo. I just don't see this working out. So I hope you all did enjoy this video. I'll try to leave some links to some of the information in the description below so you guys can get a better idea, or maybe you want to, look into it more. But yeah, I hope you all did enjoy. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you are new to the channel. I'm Cryptix, not buying Google Stadia, and signing off.